Hello, everyone. This is Life with Tiff. Welcome. I know it's been a while since I've been on, but there's been a whole lot of things going on with my life. And starting with, I quit my job. After 8.5 years, I decided it was time to make a change. It was time to move on. And one of the motivating factors in that was a year ago this day, September 6, 2018, I received a phone call that forever changed my life. It was the worst call that I received, that a mother would ever want to receive, and that was a detective told me that they found my daughter dead. And my whole world came tumbling down right before my eyes. It was like, it was just a blur. I remember bits and pieces of the events. I had just gotten to a point where my mom had passed away 2 years prior to that call, and I was just getting to a point where I was feeling like I could kind of live life again, because my mommy was my world, and I was her only child, and without my mommy I just felt abandoned, because my father had passed away a long time ago, back in 1999. And so it was just me and my mommy. And so she was always there to guide me and give me advice and, just input on anything I needed to know. And so when she passed away, I just felt like an abandoned child, like I didn't know what to do or anything. But, as time went on, I got to a point where I could kind of live my life again. And then, bam, this telephone call from this detective telling me that they found my daughter at a construction site. I just wanted it so bad to be a nightmare, a bad dream, and I was going to wake up like any minute, and it just ripped my heart apart. And so I was at work when that happened, and I had some wonderful, supportive coworkers. They helped me get through it. They helped me get home and everything, and I still, to this day, it's just been a year, and it still feels like the first day. And I'm going to try to get through this video without crying, but if I do, please bear with me. So I took my bereavement leave and everything, and when it was time to come back to work, I did not want to come back to work, because my daughter's memory was all throughout that place. When she was in high school, she was on the crew team, and she would come down to practice on the waterfront, and before she would practice, she would stop by and say hi to me and my co-workers and everything. And so her presence lived at that job with me. And so when I had to come back to work, I was like, Lord, how am I going to do this? I'm always going to think about everything, her memory, her presence, everything. And even though it's a good thing, I love thinking about my daughter. It's comforting to think about her, because I love her so much and I just want her here with me. But at the same time, I couldn't help but keep replaying that conversation with the detective. And when I would walk in the back where the social room was, that's where the conversation happened. So just replaying these things, and I tried to deal with it for several months, and finally, about 2-3 weeks ago, I just got to a point where I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I go to work, I wake up in the morning, and I say positive affirmations to say I'm going to have a great day, it's going to be a good day. And then as soon as I get to work, my whole countenance changes, and I just get sad. And I was just tired of, going to work and being sad every day. Like, I don't know if anyone out there can relate to that, but, it's an internal battle, a struggle, trying to be positive and just keep saying positive things and always looking at the bright side of things. And something happens, and then it's just bam, you're right back to the sadness. And that's what was happening to me. I was sad every day, even though I smiled. A lot of people would say, hey, how's it going? And the natural response is, oh, everything's going well, or I'm just taking it one day at a time. And even though I am taking it one day at a time, there were some days where I just wanted to cry, scream, yell, just retreat somewhere, curl up in a ball somewhere and just rock myself to sleep. And I couldn't really tell people that because number one, I'm at work. So when I'm at work, it's supposed to be about the business, right? But it was affecting my work. And I just got to a point where I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. This whole year, I can't even believe it's been a year. It still feels like it was the day of me getting that phone call. But, this whole year has been very, hi baby. This year has been very trying. And I'm so glad this little one right here is there because she just really puts a smile on my face and she helps me a lot. But, waking up every day knowing that my firstborn child is not here anymore, it just does something to you. Well, it does something to me, I should say. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, lovies. This past year, it's gone by really fast, but it's been a struggle for me. A struggle as far as trying not to fall into a depressive state of mind, trying to stay positive, trying to take care of my own mental health, trying to understand why, trying to understand mental illness as a whole, because this society has really, honestly, I think more work is being done about mental illness and mental health, but in the society that I grew up in, those were the things that you just never talked about. You never talked about someone having depression or being bipolar or having anxiety. I remember one of my aunts years ago, I was very young, like maybe 10 or 12, and she said, my nerves are bad. And, looking back on it, I'm like, maybe, she had anxiety. I don't know. But because it was something that was shunned, you didn't talk about it. And so trying to understand mental illness and what my daughter was going through. So for those who don't know, my oldest daughter, her name was Tavana Elise, and a lot of people knew her as Vanny or Vanity or Vanity Reds. She was diagnosed as being having bipolar depression and anxiety disorder. And so when she first told me that, I knew nothing about it. I've heard of people having bipolar disorder, and I remember they would prescribe a medication for it, and I thought you'd be okay, but I never knew like the extent of it or how to deal with it or live with it. And so when she told me about it, I just said, okay, well, you have to make sure that you continue to see your doctor. Don't think that just because, you're starting to feel good that you're okay and you don't need the medicine anymore and things like that. But I never knew how severe the illness was. So when the detective called to tell me all of this, I had so many questions. Number one, I didn't want to believe that my child took her own life. I did not want to believe that. I was convinced that someone did that to her. And honestly, the detective did too, considering the location where she was found at a construction site. They thought someone did this to her and drug her there and left her. But I still don't know the answers. And at this point, I probably never will. But I do know that she did have bipolar depression. And, and just by me going through my own depression and grief, I know living with something like that is something that you don't want to share with people. You don't want to bother people. I know from my perspective, you don't want to bother anybody because everyone has their own lives. Everyone's busy with their own things. Everyone's dealing with their own stuff. And so the last thing you want to do is be a burden to someone, you know, and you don't want to be that person or that friend where every time you call the other person on the line, it's like, oh, here we go again, you know, here comes Debbie Downer. And, you know, and I didn't want to be that person. So whenever people would ask me, even my closest friends, they would ask me how things are going or how I'm doing, I just say, you know, I'm just taking it one day at a time, you know. And that was true, but I wanted to really say, I'm hurting inside, I'm dying inside, I just want to scream, I'm hurting, there's a hole in my heart, I'm broken, and I don't think I'll ever be the same again, and I know I will never be the same again. But because I know people go through their own stuff, I don't even say that. So that's what I'm thinking my daughter probably experienced as well. You know, she had so many friends, people loved her, and oh my gosh, the funeral was just, it was such an outpouring of love. I really felt the presence of God that day. It was so many people from diverse backgrounds, and I just loved them all. And if you're watching, I love you all. It was just so beautiful. And I can only imagine, you know, with Tavana having all these friends, the last thing she probably wanted to do was burden them, because she probably was the motivator, the uplifter, the you can do it person. And so she didn't want to be that person that needed comforting or reassuring and things like that. I'm pretty sure she probably reached out to a few people, but after a while you don't want to keep doing that. And so I can only imagine what she was going through those final days. And it really hurts, because I remember last year, my granddaughter that you just saw earlier, she was turning a year old, and you know, my daughter Tavana was, you know, upset that she couldn't be there. And so my other daughter, Mimi, her mom, sent pictures and videos and things like that. And you know, it was just like, you know, oh, I miss my baby, I'm gonna come to DC and see her real soon, things like that. So when I got the call from the detective, I was not thinking that my child would take her life, because she had just had a conversation with her sister saying that she was going to come to DC and see her niece. So that doesn't sound like someone who's about to commit suicide. So no, let's try something else, you know, let's figure out what else could have happened, because it just didn't make sense. None of it made sense, you know. And again, I'm not familiar with mental illness and people that are thinking about suicide, but you know, the first thing I said was, well, where's the note? You know, everyone leaves a note, right? There has to be a note, but there was no note. There were no goodbyes. The last thing that was said was that she was coming home to see my granddaughter. So again, you know, what does the face of someone that's depressed or is thinking of suicide look like? You know, it has no face. You can't say this person looks like they are suicidal, or this person, I can tell she's depressed. You know, there's no face, because again, here I am at work every day smiling and making jokes and things like that, but on the inside I'm hurting. And doing, you know, talking about it helps. For me, sharing is my therapy. So this is a long video, but I feel that if I can help someone, or if someone can relate to what I'm going through, then at least I'm doing something to end the stigma of mental illness, depression, suicide, you know, all of that. I want to bring awareness to people that depression, anxiety, any type of mental illness, it has no face. There is no particular type. So you never know what a person is going through just by looking at them, because I definitely do not look like my struggles. And she's back. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up, because I don't want to say, you know, keep you too long, but I just want to say that again, mental illness has no face. And if there's anything you can do, reach out to your loved ones and friends, and just check in from time to time. I know, for me, if someone calls or texts me to check on me, my response is I'm okay, or I'm doing well, or I have my days, I have my moments, and that's okay. Don't pry into, like, saying, are you sure? Is there something else you want to tell me? You don't have to pry. Just keep checking in. You let them know that you're there for them. I know that I have some friends that I can call when I'm really having a moment. But for the most part, I feel like as long as I'm standing and I'm breathing and I keep making my positive, affirmations, I will, I know that I can make it day to day, and when I have those moments where I break down, like this morning, apparently in my sleep I was crying, and I woke up crying, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this really goes down deep into my soul where I'm crying in my sleep. Has anyone else done that? Cried in their sleep? Like, you dream that you're crying, and when you wake up you're actually crying? Like, that's never happened to me before. So, comment below if that's happened to you. I'm just curious to see, how many people have experienced that. But, I had another moment, and they're very random. Like, when I'm dealing with people, or I'm interacting with people, or if I'm conducting business or anything like that, for the most part, I usually can hold my composure and I'm okay. It's those quiet moments when I'm by myself, like, for instance, in the bathroom taking a shower, and just like that, I'll just start crying. Or just like that, the replay of the telephone conversation with the detective will play, and then I start thinking about my baby. Like, I guess as a mother, I just really want to know, and I realize I may not have the answers. I may not ever know what happened, but as a mother, I just want to know what led up to those events. Like, what was going through her mind at the time? What happened? Was there anyone there that she was trying to reach out to? Like, who was the last person she talked to? Who was the last person she texted? Who was the last person that called her or texted her? Just those kind of things. Like, I just really want to know, like, those last moments, what was happening and what was going on. And again, I probably will never know the answers. I just know that my baby's not here, and I love her, and I miss her so much, and I just long to just hold her. Even though she was a grown woman, in my eyes, she was still my baby. She was 23 when her life ended, and I just feel like her life was just starting. I watched her grow up from a little baby to a young woman, and I just knew there was much more in store. Just hearing from her friends how much she was an activist, passionate about life, very passionate about equality amongst everyone. Everyone should be treated equally. That's what she felt, and she felt that everyone can live on this earth and be different, and we should accept and embrace each other's differences. One of her things was that she just wanted you to be true to yourself. I can't remember who it was that I'm getting ready to quote. I think it was Shakespeare that said, "To thine own self be true." Well, that's what she believed, own your truth, or live up to your truth. And I just saw so much potential in her. She was going to be a doctor one day. She was going to get her PhD. She was in grad school for sociology, and she just was so smart. My baby was so smart. Her smile could light up a room, and if you didn't know her, she was really a force to be reckoned with. And that was my baby, and I'm proud of her. And I gave a speech I think it was last October or November in New York, and I gave a speech, and it was about her and her life. And Maybe a month or so ago, she came to me in a dream and she told me that she really liked my speech. So that put a smile on my face. It put a smile on my face, and then it made me cry, because it's like, you should have been given the speech. You should be telling your story. And, but I just, a mother that has lost a child would only know what I'm going through. And I just thank all of you for, bearing with me and listening to me, and sympathizing with me, empathizing with me, going through this journey with me. I appreciate all of you. And, your generosity and kindness will always be appreciated and will never, ever be forgotten. So I thank you all for listening. I'm going to set up another link of my daughter's. We did a birthday tribute for her. Her birthday was June 3rd, and we did a tribute where we released balloons in her honor. And so I'm going to post that, the entire thing. You can watch it if you choose to. I'm also going to try to find the speech that I did for her in New York. I'll try to post that as well. But this is probably one of many of my, revealing moments, if you will. I just wanted to just kind of summarize the year that I've gone through, and it's been an emotional roller coaster. I won't lie. Like I said, I am broken, but I know that, everything will just work out accordingly. I do believe that. And I mean, Tavana will never be forgotten. She's always going to be right here with me. She is with me. She's with my whole family, my daughters, even my granddaughter. And her memory will live on. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time where I'll have some more light and fluffy things. Maybe I'll do a try on. But until then, stay blessed, be positive, and remember that your life matters. Thanks for watching Life with Tiff.